Hi, Steve.
Hey, Jim.
So you by now you're entering your second year in Colorado. Do you feel like you're in any kind of a slump now?
Hey, I kind of do feel like I'm having one of those sophomore slumps.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Two Guys Talking About Records, your vinyl community podcast where each week we two guys get together and we talk about records. And I didn't mean to imply, Steve, that you're not doing as well in your second year as you did your first year in Colorado, but it kind of plays into where we're going. My name is
Yeah.
Jim, and I own a record store.
And my name is Steve, who's wearing a very wrinkled shirt, but I also am a record collector.
Didn't even pay attention to
There.
that, but good to
Holy
see you. There you
cow,
go. Pull that
man.
there too. So sophomore slumps, you settle into it. You hit the ground running, and then you
hmm
settle into it a little bit, and then by the time you come around on that second big thing, and it's just not quite there. Do you
Yep,
feel
you
it?
have them yeah, you know what? They happen in sports. They happen in any other kind of thing that goes on, but they really can happen in music.
Yeah. And we're tying this in this week with a new release that I think we were both at the same time excited and somewhat hesitant about.
Very much so. I mean, I've been thinking about this for a while. I go, God, it's going to suck. It's just going. I'm going to be so disappointed.
So we're actually going to talk about that in the sophomore slump section of our discussion today, but it's also most likely going to come up in what we do next, and that is
Yeah,
talking about our most recent pickups, as we do each and every week here. We're kind of cyclical here, aren't we today?
yeah, yeah. We are. It just what we show now just comes back a little later. So
And then sandwiched in between, I've got another one of those vinyl mysteries that befall me once in a while here at the store. This one, I don't want to say I got taken, but it's an interesting story. So make sure you stick for that one. So,
it was almost exciting though. I was like,
oh God, yes,
wow.
indeed it was, but
And
now
then you
it's
go,
not so much.
wow.
All right. Well,
Wow.
let's get to those pickups, Steve. You've got a lot. I've only got a couple of things this week, so you're going to have to carry the load as far as what did you bring
Well,
in that's fun?
Well, I only have 2 that I bought, then someone sent me some albums, but, uh, the first is the sophomore album from Wet. And
Yep.
yes, so there we go, highly anticipated, been looking at it, been seeing the videos, and, this was an album, as, you mentioned, I think we both were kinda really hesitant
Yep.
and worried about. And I'm watching these videos. I'm going, God, they're so kind of weird and stuff. Yeah. But when I listen to the music, and the more you listen to this, I think, would you agree, Jim? That first album, you listen to it right away. You go, whoa,
Yep.
that
Oh yeah.
song just, it's in your brain and you're just excited. Go, holy cow. This one took a little bit longer, not real long. But there's some, and I was saying on my Sunday show, I says, I didn't have any earworm songs. Now I'm going to take that back because at 2 o'clock this morning on side one, Davina McCall, which is a
it,
softer
it
song,
popped into there.
it, it wouldn't stop, man. It just kept going and going and going. So it does have earworm songs on here. They are there. Definitely a harder rocking album than the other one, but also softer. So, boy, does that sound like it's harder rocking, but softer too. But uh, for me, uh, the vocals, Rihanna, I don't. She doesn't have a real strong voice, and I don't think she's not the greatest vocalist in the world. But when she kind of rocks, and especially does that talking and then singing, she nails it. Just
Yep.
it's great. But when she has to get real slow, her voice just I don't know. To me, it doesn't work as well. I don't know if you had that feeling or not.
Yes and no. There are certain times. I mean, I like a good vocalist when someone can sing and they're really nailing it. I think that really adds to a record. The talk singing. when it works, it works. And I think it works
Yeah,
for Wet Leg, but when it doesn't work, it's just downright
I agree.
annoying. But
Yeah,
it works for them. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this, but I'll go ahead and toss because this is the recent pickup I was going to show too. It just released on
yeah,
Friday, and I'm in the same boat with you. I was very hesitant leading into this because I hate to say it, because of the videos. Music videos used to, in my opinion, have one job, and that was to sell the music, make it look more snazzy, make it look sexy, make you excited to want to go out and buy that album.
mhm,
And if that was the sole purpose of the Wet Leg music videos that they released for, well, primarily for Catch These Fists, but even CPR, it didn't do the job for me. And I've
yeah.
heard, you mentioned your video, your Sunday morning video, and I've actually heard a couple of other people say this too in the store. Once they listened to it, they said that watching the videos, they went, but once they listened to the record, it was actually better than the
Yeah.
listening to it through the music videos. I can't quite explain that.
Yeah, I can't either because I there was just a couple of 'em. Even that one I liked, Davina McCall, the video, it was, it was a claymation kind of
Yeah,
thing,
yep.
and it was that maybe the problem is she was wearing just the stupidest outfit during these videos. I mean, just these shorty shorts. I mean, but just it's like, God, that your outfit sucks, man. I mean,
Well, trying to bring back that style of wearing the underwear on the outside. So
I
I'd get
guess,
arrested if I tried that.
and then almost like a jock strap
Yeah.
on the
Yep.
front. What the heck? So I don't think that the stylizing, it sucked. But
Yeah.
and of course the other gal Hester, she just never shows herself. I mean, she just
Well,
you watch her in concert, she always faces away. She
yep.
just yeah, that's
With the
her.
exception of her backup vocal, she'll turn around and say, "What?" And that's about it.
Yeah,
But no,
yeah,
I've seen interviews and I've read some other articles about how both of them, and I apologize. The Wet Leg is more than just those two. It's
yes.
the band, and they
Hmm.
try to get that across in there as well. But they're both fairly introverted when it comes to things. I caught an interview. It was a BBC interview where they did both a live performance was from about a week ago, where they did a few songs off of Moisturizer, and then they, of course, did Shay's Lounge. They're like by law they got to do that one now, I think.
Yeah.
And then there was an interview, and they did not do themselves any. And this was with one of the guys also did not do themselves any favors making them interview wise. It was a very awkward interview. It just was
Mhm.
very off-putting, I guess. But
Yeah.
let them do their music. And I also saw something too where they said that they make their own music videos and they try to really scale back the number of people. So that could explain something as well, but neither
It
here nor
could.
there.
Yeah,
But
but
overall, and we'll get into this in the sophomore slump discussion as well. Overall, I like it, and the reasons I'm going to save my reasoning when we get into the second part of the discussion here. But favorite songs for me on this, I didn't really like CPR when I saw the video, but now I'm liking the song more,
yeah,
and that's the
same
lead
here.
cut. That is the lead
Mhm.
cut. It's very catchy. And when I put together the playlist, I think I texted you and I said, you know what, CPR, now that I've listened to it on the record, it reminds me of something, another song by another group that's much older, and I could not figure out what it was. And I
Uh,
stopped short of calling it a direct rip off of the other song because I don't want to go that way because there are there's only a certain amount of notes that musicians can play, and there's a
mhm.
limited. I mean, granted, we're talking the billions and billions, but it still is a finite number of combinations of those notes that you can put together. So inadvertently, something is going to sound like something else, especially if it's influenced. But CPR was bugging the hell out of me because I swear it sounded like
Yeah.
something that I had heard before, and I finally figured it out.
Ah,
If it's in Spotify, I will put that in the playlist right after CPR. And it's a song by a group called Shiny Toy Guns, and the song is Le Disco. Don't ask me how and why, but that's just one of the little things that have been stuck up in my head.
yeah,
The two are very similar in their note structure and just the music underneath. I think is it's got some similarities, but it's not a copy. I don't want to dig on Wet Leg for it, but it really
yeah.
does remind me of this other song, La Disco. So again, folks, Steve as well, when you get a chance, check out that playlist. If La Disco is in there, I'm pretty sure it is. I'll put that right after CPR,
Cool.
and you can be the judge for yourself there. Overall, though, Steve, I think what I like best about this is the fact that it feels like an album, which is sorely
Mm.
missing on a lot of new music. And by that, what I mean is it's not a concept album, but I guess maybe you could argue, your Sunday show, you talked a lot about the themes that she tries to get across with the
Yeah.
songwriting and the music. But I don't think it's a concept album in that sense, but it's an album in the sense that it flows nicely.
Hmm.
Like my old radio DJ days, you wanted to make a set flow nicely, and the songs do that. It carries you through. It's got a very strong lead track, not necessarily the single "Catch These Fists." Side one ends the Mange Tout is a great tune, and my favorite, oddly enough, on the back of this is the last song
Yeah.
on side two, "You and Me at Home," and it's just kind of one of those songs it's got kind of the group sing medley at the end, and it's a great way to wrap up the album. It just feels like a whole bunch of togetherness as this brings it to a close. And so the most impressive thing I think on this, and the music is cool and I enjoy it, but it's got a cohesiveness that carries it through as a full album that I just enjoy.
Yeah. There was. I said there's just a couple tracks that I really didn't like. The one before the last one,
Yep.
1121. I just could have just put a scratch through that thing. I was like, oh God, I don't like this. But yeah, overall, definitely not a sophomore slump for them.
Now, and the thing is too, I got to hand it to a group, especially in 2025, to make an album that flows as an
Hmm.
album. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
in the digital age, it's real easy. If you were to put together a playlist, or if you were to, call this up on your phone or streamer, it's easy to skip the songs you don't like. But on the turntable, you're going to listen to them, and I think that pays off for those that want to stick through that experience.
Yep. Totally agreed.
Did we just do an album review?
I think we did. Yeah.
Holy
It's our
cow.
it's our new segment we're having, folks.
The only other thing, Steve, is the cover. You talked about the cover. Um, the, the interview that I heard that was also a little interesting. Now you can't see it, but they each have like weird tack on nails on that. Um, but they had given an interview where the cover and a few of their music videos, I thought it was a zombie, but they referred to it as a goblin zombie, same thing. The claymation one
Uh-huh.
had it. One of their live
Yeah.
sets on the BBC had a dude
Yeah.
like looking like a zombie sitting on a couch. It
Uh-huh.
turns out that that's their manager.
Hmm.
And the interviewer tried getting that across from them, saying what gives with the goblin theme running throughout this from both the cover and that, and they couldn't answer. The manager feeds us and gives us water. It's like, okay, that didn't really answer anything. But here is the good news. I remember a while back you said that there's an alternate version of this, or an indie version. The indie exclusive is the one that we've got. It's the clear vinyl version
Yeah.
versus the black. But apparently there is an alternate cover version of this out there on clear vinyl that was limited to a couple thousand. I guess it went to some stores. You can find it out on Discogs. And they're calling it the family portrait cover.
Yeah.
I'm calling this up right now. And what it is it's the entire band sitting on a couch, a la a family portrait, with the zombie manager sitting in the center, and they're all cuddled up with him. So,
Someone will be showing that probably next week.
did you order one?
I did. They also had a lenticular cover of the one that we showed.
Yep, of this one.
Yeah, a lenticular cover. That thing goes for about $90 medium now. I mean,
So, do you regret getting the other cover? Or are you okay with having two?
it's just one of those stupid collector things.
You gotta have. All right. Truth be told, I had one in a Discogs cart too, but didn't pull the trigger yet. So.
There you go.
Yeah, one of those collector things, right?
Yeah. Yes. Collectors are idiots.
Yes, we
Money
we are.
puff.
Well, hopefully you'll show that off next week, and we'll see if you can compare and contrast what those two look like.
Yeah, there we
All right.
go. Oh my
I
God.
guess we can end the album review portion of the show today and get back to your pickups. What else you got there?
Yeah. I got the third album from Rilo Kiley.
Oh,
I,
cool.
I bought that greatest hits. I showed that last week. They only did 4 albums. Third one really is a very, very good one because it had the hits on there called It's a Hit, which supposedly was a hit, but I don't really know. But also Portions for Foxes, which I love that song. Again, most people are just scratching their head and go, "What the hell?" Uh, but hey, it's good stuff. So this is actually an original, and it was a sealed original. Wasn't that much, so I can't complain. Black vinyl, super cool, and yeah. Uh, now I don't have the first one. I used to have it on CD. It's okay, but this one I'm glad to get in. So
And that's
very
the
nice.
Rilo Kiley is the one that was hand delivered to you
Yes, it was.
a
Yes,
couple of weeks
no one hand
back.
delivered that one though. I
No,
had to wait.
sorry.
And then finally, my friend Isa out of Boston, a longtime viewer of my channel, commenter, and a guy that has just the most. It makes my taste look very mainstream, quite honestly. But he sent me this album called "The Fools Sold Out." It's a band from Boston area, from Ipswich. Power pop, early
Okay.
80s power pop. I know you can't say, really? Is that early 80s? I would not have known that.
You couldn't tell.
These guys have done 12, 14 albums, something like that. They went
Wow.
into the aughts. Yeah. So who knew? I mean, the Fools. And work's blowing up my phone. Okay. Nuggets. This is the second
Yep.
Nuggets. And I never had this on vinyl before. So that was exciting to see. I have the box set, obviously, but
Yep.
really good.
Is that one of the Rhino reissues, or is that because I think that was the only time they
Uh,
came out was the second volume only, but I could be wrong.
yeah. This one's from 2023.
Okay, so it is. Yep, the later one.
Yep. Yep.
I think that was
Uh,
either box set or later reissue on its own.
Yep. And from Africa, drum trance. I said, God, I cannot say the word chance. Drum chance and instrumental music, and it's from more North Africa. I love North African blues. This is going to be much more traditional off the Explore series. So should be. I used to have this, so excited to get this back in. And finally, put a note on there, Little Steven's Disciples of Soul. And I was just listening to this. Little Steven, man, you put that on, you just think, God, that sounds like Bruce Springsteen.
Well, there's a reason.
There's a reason for it. I mean, and you could see his influence or how they've influenced each other. They have that feel. His voice is more of a Bob Dylan type, but yeah, the thing rocks really, really good. Good rock. I've never had his stuff, but he used to have a radio show that I
Yep.
loved. Yeah, maybe he still does it, but I would get these sample CDs from it because he did all this garage rock, this obscure stuff, both new and old. And I'd be listening and go, okay, I need to order this one album. I need to order that CDs. So
Just
to
just
me, he
don't
was
tick
very
don't tick him
influential.
off. He's got mob connections, right?
That's right, exactly.
I actually met little Steve Van Zandt at a conference several years ago. He was there
Uh-huh.
speaking, and I waited my turn in line to say hey and get a picture, and pretty cool.
Did he wear a bandana?
He did indeed. He was not without it. Nope.
Yeah,
The only time you
I
don't see him without it is when he was on The Sopranos.
yeah, which I think that was maybe a wig. I don't know. I don't know. May not be.
Who knows?
But, yep,
That's what you got?
that's what I got.
All
That's
right.
all.
Well, in addition to the new wet leg, which we have already talked about, I've only got one other addition. And this is usually the peer pressure works from this direction to you, correct? It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
it's not the other way around, except for now. After we talked about mellowing out a couple of weeks back, I realized I
Mhm.
did not have the Beck album Sea Change as a good mellow out album. So I've remedied that situation. Very enjoyable. I've heard this stuff before, but I've never had a copy of this. But yeah, it goes right in there. My only complaint is this is one of those ones that was I think what originally released in 2002. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, probably so. Yeah. It was in the
Where did
odds.
that go? Yep, 2002 is the original, and this is a 2016 reissue. And it's a double LP with 3 songs per side. So you just get settled in to start working, or in this case, chilling out, and you got to get up
Yeah.
and flip it. But could it have been fit onto a single? Probably. And I don't know if the original was a double LP or not, but it's nice to have. I like going to that the Beck stuff once in a while when I get in the mood.
Yeah. It is. That's great music.
So, as we do always, and for the pickups as well as the stuff we're going to talk about here in the Sophomore Slump, we'll put together a Spotify playlist that will give you folks a chance to listen in on some of the stuff that we are talking about. Look for that link to this playlist, rather, in the description of both the YouTube episode, and it is in the link of the description of the Spotify episode. For those of you listening on other platforms, Amazon or Apple, the description should carry forward. I don't know if it does or not, but if it doesn't, just look for it on YouTube or Spotify, and you can click on that playlist and dig through those. The thing is, the challenging stuff is when the stuff that we talk about is not in there. And Steve, that North African one may not be, and
Yeah.
the La Disco song that I mentioned too, that reminds me of the Wet Leg song. I don't know if it's there, but we'll see. If it's there, I'll put it in, and folks can check that out. Cool.
Yep.
One thing you're not going to be able to check out on Spotify, and before we get to our overall discussion of Sophomore Slump, I mentioned a vinyl mystery, Steve, that showed up in the store actually just yesterday. It's been a wild time this past week, here at the store, past 2 weeks actually, with people bringing stuff in. I'm getting about 4 or 5 calls a week of, do you buy records? Do you buy records? Most of them I'm turning away because it's junk. But I'm even getting lots of trades coming in, folks with armfuls saying they want to trade. So I had one of those batches come in yesterday. It had some good stuff in it. And the gentleman, he's been in the store before. He had a 45, and it is red vinyl, and it's old. It's on Encore Records, which we're going to call up and talk a bit about here. But it's the Rolling Stones. And he says, I've been looking for information on this. I don't know what it is. I can't find anything on it, but it's the Stones, and I think I'd like to trade that if I could. So it's Encore Records. The song is Goodnight Big Daddy on one side, it says Rolling Stones, and Inside on the other, it says Rolling Stones on the other one there. So I do my due diligence. The store is a little busy, so I can't really interrupt too much and throw it on, but it's in decent condition. It's got some scuffs, but no scratches. So while he's looking around for his trade stuff, of course, I go to Discogs. Nothing, nada, zero. This is not in Discogs. So then I went looking for Encore Records. It took me a while, but I found it, but it wasn't in Discogs. These songs under the Rolling Stones, this song under anything else, the Goodnight Big Daddy, this combination, not in Discogs. So I broadened the search and I went over to Pop Psych. And we've talked a few times before about Pop Psych. Which is a good resource, but it can be a little outdated, but it doesn't have the marketplace draw like it's for pricings that Discogs has. But what it does is it samples older eBay sales. So the only place that I could find information on this record was in Pop Psych, and I'll call that up right here. They call it West Coast Folk Rock Rolling Stones. Goodnight Big Daddy Inside Encore. So, okay, right there, it should have been a red flag for me. Red vinyl flag, of course, I'm saying. This, by the way, it looks like it sold last in 2017 for about $33. Nothing else, to tell you the truth, really, in the description. It just kind of goes in there with talking about that on Pop Psych. So, I'm in a hurry. The store's kind of crowded. I just say, okay, this is obviously it's a Rolling Stones, and looking at the titles, it could very well have just been one of those that one of their old blues ones that they did. My first inclination was that this is just probably one of the knockoff labels that decided to take Rolling Stones. They got a hold of it somewhere and they just threw something out there in the 60s for the heck of it. All well and good. I made the trade. I got some goodies in there. And then later on in the evening, I think I texted you too. And I said, check this out. I don't know what this is. It's not in Discogs. This could be big. Then, Steve, I threw it on the turntable. Big mistake. It is not the Rolling Stones.
Well, we don't think it is. I mean,
Well,
it could have
no,
been.
I take it back.
But
It's the Rolling Stones. It's just not the Rolling Stones. Case in point, let's listen to this quick sample. If YouTube copyright comes down on me, we'll deal with it. But let's listen to this sample of "Good Night, Big Daddy" by the Rolling Stones, and you tell me what you think.
Last Saturday night we got wasted. Me and my girl hit town. Like me and my girl are beating it. We swing when the sun goes down. Good night, Big Daddy, good night. Good night, Big Daddy, good night. Good night, Big Daddy, good night, Big Dad. I'll see you at the pad.
See, what happened? Did I get ripped off here? That's not the Rolling Stones. I'm not imagining that, right?
They might have just might have been a different stage that they were going through at the time.
I don't know what they were on, if that's the case. Marianne Faithfull sounded a little weird, too.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So, all right. So further digging, what ensued, once I had the time. All right. So I found Encore Records finally in Discogs, and there's only a few releases here. And it says Encore Records just says 1960s label from Los Angeles, California. That explains the pop psych saying West Coast folk. But I don't even know if I'd call that stuff folk. It's garage. It's a little bit of rockabilly. It's got some novelty sound in there, I think. It could be older.
Yeah.
But there's there's only there's three entries in Encore Records, in this Encore Records. Two from a group called the Xanadu's and one from Gene Gainley, 1965, an unknown. And in clicking on the Xanadu's one, for crying out loud, if you look at this, a single on this label from the Xanadu's goes upwards of $200 to $215. Just absolutely incredible. So that didn't help the fact that this encore of the Rolling Stones wasn't in there. So I did some more digging. Not related to this, I found that there are several other Rolling Stones in Discogs. And I've got it narrowed down to just these two. And if we look here, the first one of these, this is a possibility. This is a group called the Rolling Stones, number 2 in Discogs. A rockabilly group from Starkville, Mississippi, founded by Andy Anderson in 1955, disbanded in 1959. They only have a couple of releases. They're not on Encore. One of them was a 10-inch shellac from 1955. It could be these guys. I don't know. What's more likely is another Rolling Stones I found. This is the Rolling Stones 5 on Discogs. Rolling Stones was a pair of singing comic vagabonds touring America in 1930, co-starring Bud Jameson and Jimmy Adams. So only one release from them, and it's a 1930. So this may be a little too early for this as well. And quite frankly, Steve, to tell you the truth, I'm a little stumped where it is and what this is, but it's not the Rolling Stones, obviously. The BW, the backside, is almost got a doo-wop feel to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird.
So
Real weird.
let this be a lesson. I should always probably check things a little more closely, even if I'm a little busy, before I just take the word. I'm not going to lose money on the trade. There was a bunch of other stuff that we're gonna talk about, but the fact that this sold for $30 several years ago gives me some hope. It may have the novelty of being somebody in their collection saying, "Oh, check out this Rolling Stones I've got," and then fool everybody when they put on whatever it is that we just listened to.
I think that when you put that on, someone's going to get excited. $500, $600. I could see that coming. So
Well,
yeah, you got a great thing.
thanks. Do you want it for $200? I'll make you a deal.
I'm going to think about that, Jim.
I don't know. It's a very interesting talk piece. I guess if anybody has any information on what that might be, please feel free to chime in. I think, I'm going to do some more research on it. I will enter it into Discogs also. But the big thing now is it which Rolling Stones does it tag to? Do I create a whole new Rolling Stones?
Yeah.
Discogs, some of the Discogs, let's call them the zealots, get a little angry if you enter stuff in like that doesn't have quite the foundation. So it may take me a while to get that put in there, but at the very least, I'll put it up on our YouTube channel as well, just because. But it's a very interesting story, and let that be a lesson to me.
Yeah. Well, as I said, you never know, and you're busy. You got to go.
Yep. Now, had this
who would have
been,
thought that?
who would have, had this been the second release from the Rolling Stones, Mick and Keith and company, I would say that would probably not have gone as well as their first release, which was a lot of that bluesy stuff.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I totally agree. I just think that would have been a sophomore slump for them. It really would have been.
And a half. Somebody else's, I would assume, there too. But that's the main push of our discussion today, my misgivings of the Rolling Stones aside. With the release of that Wet Leg album, Steve and I had talked at great length prior to the Friday release of the new Wet Leg about some of our misgivings, as we talked about earlier, based solely on the music videos and just listening to a little bit of that, the first release, the Catch These Fists that went out there, which I got to admit, that song's growing on me a little bit. But
yeah, me too.
Here we go. It's neither here nor there. But that got us talking about what other albums are out there from groups that had such a major impact that the second album just could not keep up with it. And Wet Leg, I think, is a great example of that. You mentioned Earworm, and that first album was an instant. I mean, you said that outright too, and in your video too. One listen to that, you knew it was something great, which is the total opposite of it takes me a few listens to get into this, and I enjoy it now. But first off, I didn't think it was that cool.
Yeah. We come in with that expectation, which happens with so many, especially really great albums, that we were so captivated by, and we're thinking, all right, here we go again.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And then and they change direction, or sometimes maybe they tried to do the same thing, but it's just not written as well. And they don't have that magic.
The discussion of Sophomore Slump is going to be tied directly, if you'd like, or indirectly, if you'd like, to the notion of one-hit wonders as well. There's a couple in my pile here today that hit with such ferocity and sold so much and were such a great song that turned out to be the only thing that the group could really kick out. And there's a couple of examples of that. And not that I'm saying that that the first Wet Leg was a one-hit wonder. I mean, Shays Lounge obviously is their signature. It is the one that catapulted to them. And, there's a B-52s in my pile, and we'll compare that with Rock Lobster if you'd like. And you get 30, 40 years down the line, the B-52s still will, what's left of them will still perform Rock Lobster. And you got to wonder if it's just like a chore for them at that point.
Oh my God, it has to be. It's like,
yeah,
let's do the reggae version this time.
Yeah. I've heard tell that, and I've not seen them, but the Violent Femmes, they were touring a couple of years ago as well. And that was a group that again, that debut album was that, I should have pulled that one too. The debut album was such a phenomenal release that there's no keeping up with that. And, and they just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
But we do not put Moisturizer in this category today, do we?
No,
Okay.
no, we don't. I think it's going to be a very, very solid album that if you like the first one, you're going to like that.
Okay. My only uncomfortable is the fact that it took a few listenings to get to that feeling.
Agree. Totally agree. Just don't watch the video. Don't watch the video. No. Just put the album on.
Listen to the music. Well, with the notion of let's go back a ways too, because this is a phenomena that does go back into the 60s when rock music especially was really, and we could probably talk about other genres. I'm not going to pretend to be anywhere near an expert on things like country or even further back. I'm sure Beethoven's Second Symphony was not greeted as well as the first, right? I know fifth was the big one. It took him to get to five, but let's stick with rock and roll. And I think going back to one of your favorite groups of all time, do they have a sophomore album that fits this category for you?
Yeah. For me personally, I guess at the very start, yes. Now, no. But
Interesting.
when uh, when this came out, the Velvet Underground. Now, did it sell well? No, it did not. It kind of, people didn't get it. But on there they had Nico, and Nico added a whole different dimension to their music. Andy Warhol wanted Nico there. Velvet Underground did not want Nico, but they got stuck because she was hot. Let's just face it. I mean, the rest of them just, they weren't hot. And so, well, let's give them some eye candy to maybe make them more appealing. So this came out. They built songs for Nico, soft songs, quieter songs that a lot of people liked. Their second album comes out with no Nico, White Light, White Heat, and this is the Velvet Underground coming out and saying, this is what we do, especially John Cale. And this is a noise fest on a lot of songs. I mean, it does have the 17-minute Sister Ray
Yep.
that CIA have used for torture techniques. It is something else. I like it, but I know other people hate it. And as Lady Godiva's operation, there's nothing commercial on this except maybe White Light, White Heat. There she comes now. Maybe I called her name, but I mean, there's the gift that goes on for 8 minutes. So this had possible commercial appeal. It did not do well. This one did even worse. This might be my favorite album just because I like the noise that they're producing. But at the start, it's like, wow, that's not this. So
You could also,
the Velvet Underground had their problems.
Yeah, you could also try and call that on a technicality, because if we look at Discogs, it's listed as the Velvet Underground and Nico, and that's the actual title of the album. So,
yeah,
is that a Velvet Underground album? Yes, but no. Yes, but no. Well, yes, but no.
Yeah. Exactly. The one with Nico, they didn't do what they want. Well, Lou Reed always wanted to write pop tunes, but John Cale had zero interest in writing a pop tune, and he's more prominent on the second album.
Now, a second album does not necessarily mean that something's going to slump in sales. I mean, the slump could be attributed to a lack of critical response to it, but it still sells well based upon the momentum of the first album. And let's toss Boston out there. I know you're a big Boston fan of the first album.
Perfect album.
Yeah, this is one of your perfect albums. The amount of structuring it took, and I still have a Boston bootleg there of the demos in this, where you can actually feel them doing the structuring of a lot of these songs and the work that went into making them just right. And we talked earlier about an album that flows from one song to another. It's got a momentum. It's got a certain narrative, if you will, that isn't even tied to the fact that it's a concept, but just a certain flow of the music. And this is one of those that goes through. And then you get to Don't Look Back, which is not going to be as critically acclaimed. And this could be a variety of reasons. People could be upset that it's not the same, or people could be upset that it is the same. Music fans can get a little fickle in that. Mm-hmm. Now, in your mind, did Schultz and company try to recreate this one with the second, or was it just an extension?
I thought that, to me, they were trying to recreate it to some extent, which overall would not have been bad because I love the first album. But again, you get that first album, you have all those ideas that's been in your heads, and you put them down because you've been formulating these for years. Now suddenly we need to have another hit album. Now, of course, like Schultz was really quick at putting out an album. I don't know how long it took him to put out that second one, but generally it takes 5-10 years.
76 to 78.
So see, that was quick for Schultz.
Yep.
I mean, that was really fast.
Hey, just we'll call up that Pink Floyd lyric. The band is just fantastic. That is really what we think. And you got to get an album out. You owe it to the people.
Yep. It is.
I know we're not talking about thirds, 3 strikes and you're out, but
Yeah.
It's not difficult to be a Boston. I know there's other Boston albums, but there's just 3, technically speaking, right? 3
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
All right. So I think that's a good example. Don't Look, do you have a copy of Don't Look Back, or did you not bother with that one?
I do have I have the first 2 Boston albums. Yeah.
Okay.
After that, I did not look back to get any more.
Gotcha. I see what you did there. What else is on your list of, man, they did so good, but I don't even bother having the second
Yeah.
album?
I can't show this one because I used to have it because in college it was gigantic. Bad Out of Hell by Meatloaf.
Yes.
43 million sales. 43 million. Let's just say you're screwed. Take that money that you just made, and hopefully you had a hell of a good contract. You're going to make some money because 43 million. So their second album comes out. It's like 5 years later. Everyone's forgotten about Meatloaf now. I mean, it's just like, except if you watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show. They came out with a Dead Ringer, and I guess this came out 4 years later. Dead Ringer sold 392,000 copies.
From 140 million.
From 43 million.
43 million. I'm sorry, 43 million
to 392,000. That's the thing that makes an artist kill themselves.
Oh,
Man. I mean that puts them into alcoholism, everything else, because it just sucked. Now, they say a lot of it might be the first album was produced by Todd Rundgren. Todd Rundgren put his special polish that he had on things. He knew how to make things shiny and look great. The second one was not produced by him. And for whatever reason, again, 4 years, people move on. And, Bad Out of Hell, well, I got that. Why do I care about something else? Now, eventually they did Bad Out of Hell 2, years down the line that did well. But that's a sophomore slump times 10. I mean, it's like, whoa.
And does that get into okay, you look at Bad Out of Hell, and there's a couple of songs in there, but maybe one hit wonder-ish territory where there's no catching up to that Lightning.
No, that was tough. I mean, it's exciting at the time, but when it comes time for that follow-up, I mean, you just have to be just holding your head and go, "Oh Lord, now what?" And the record company's going, "Come on."
Well, how about, I've got a couple from 1979, and I think that this one was on your list as well. Television and Marquee Moon.
Yeah. Yep.
I do not have the second Television. I do have a copy of Marquee Moon, but I'll let you kick in on this one because I'm familiar with this and I'm not so much familiar with their follow-up, but this makes the list of sophomore slumps.
Yeah. This one has sold 90,000. That's it. But it is considered one of the all-time classic albums. It was just underground, right? CBGB's punk was going. No one was really knowing this. But now people will reference this one as just one of the greatest albums put out. Side 1, See No Evil, Venus, Friction, and Marquee Moon are just so important, especially if you're into the punk or into post-punk. Then they came out with Adventure. This is a soft album. It did not have the punch and power that Marquee Moon had, and didn't do nearly as well. I mean, the song structure's there, but here I think Verlaine's guitar was much more prominent. It was out there. He was doing these great guitar solos that is pure Tom Verlaine. When you hear that, you just know. I mean, you can hear a Tom Verlaine guitar solo anywhere. There's so, it's his. This didn't have all of that, and it was a quieter one and just didn't do well. They only came out, I believe, with one other album after this, but it definitely was a slump for them. They tried to kind of change things up from this, but, this is what people still will reference as one of the greatest albums.
Yep. Also from 79 and from 79 all the way to 1980, so not a lot of difference is the B-52s from their self-titled, which of course had, I got them mixed up here. No, I did not. Yep. with Rock Lobster, their self-titled debut, the Yellow Album, that such a underground-ish, again, alternative, college radio, whatever you want to call it, hit from the B-52s. To this day, they have to ride that whenever they play. It's one of their givens. But Planet Claire is cool. Lava's cool. A lot of the other stuff on here did not quite make do with their second album a year later. And this is maybe one that felt a little rushed at times. And I dig, Private Idaho and Strobe Light are probably my favorites off the second album. But neither of these commercially, I think, did well. But with the underground stuff in college radio, they found some footing and were able to carry on. But I think that this is another good example of we did so much so quickly with the first one. The second one, we tried to recapture that feel, but it wasn't quite Rock Lobster ever again. Yeah. Maybe when they get further down the line into the 80s with the likes of Rome and Love Shack, they hit that top 40, but I think that's a different story. The second album was not their strongest from the B-52s. No.
And then came Whammy.
Yeah.
That did album whatsoever.
Fred Schneider's solo career with Monster. I've got one in the store here somewhere, which is probably one of the worst albums of all time.
All right, well, let's go 1977. We have the Clash
backing
debut.
Up. Sorry about that.
And this is the punk masterpiece. This really got things going in 77. Got everyone super excited. Career opportunities, Jamie Jones, White Riot, London's Burning. I mean, man, this has sold 761,000 copies. Their sophomore album was Hang 'Em. Give 'Em Enough Rope. Hang 'Em. Give 'Em Enough Rope was their sophomore album. This sold 108,000 copies. 761, 108. We call that a slump. What happened? They say that there's a more of a polished feel. This was they're trying to get the American market. I mean, this is very English. Let's face it, very, very English, but it's what punk is about. You hear this, I mean, you just go, God bless it. That is exciting stuff. I like this one, but it isn't like I play it all the time on here. I mean, it's just, you have English Civil War. You have Tommy Guns on here, which was a really big one. But it just doesn't have the hits. Nope. It doesn't have, which again, you say Clash, the hits for punkers. Not top 40 kids, no. But yeah, definitely this didn't have it. I can't. They tried to rush this out, I think. This was taken off. Let's get something. And this was set for the American market, but didn't work out.
How about Australia? Should we go there?
Go down
Men
under.
at Work. Their album, Business as Usual, 15 million copies is what this sold.
Wow.
You follow that up with Cargo, down to 5 million. Now, that being said, I mean, I like Men at Work. These are from my collection. I've got half-speed masters of these, which makes it kind of cool. Cargo's got a couple of great tunes on there, especially Overkill, I think, is very superior as a song, but this one had more hits and hit with a different feeling, I think. MTV had a lot to do with this as well in the early 80s, kicking through there. But I think this is another great example. But Men at Work, outside of these two albums, there's some other stuff that they've done, but not quite as memorable. Colin Hay, some very cool solo work, but he still dives back to these old ones. He's even got an Overkill remake of, I think that's a great song. He does solo as well, but very scaled back. But I think another good example.
Maybe that second album was just Overkill.
It could have been. Maybe that's why they titled it.
This might have been, yeah. We have to talk about this, otherwise it wouldn't be two guys talking about records. I mean, it wouldn't be right. Aha.
Yep.
Aha. Okay. The very first Aha album, Hunting High and Low, came out, I believe, in 85. 11 million. Sold great. It was huge in the US. Why? They had fantastic video.
Yep.
This is when MTV had the power to make something happen. And the American market went after it hook, line, and sinker. Big time. 11 million. Then in 86, they came out with Scoundrel Days. Now, how many of you went out and bought Scoundrel Days? That's just, I know one or two maybe, but I couldn't tell you even what it looks like. Okay. I never heard anything more of it. It still sold well. It sold at 6 million, but went from 11 million to 6 million. And I think a lot of it is just the American market. They lost the American market on that one. That
Yep.
first one was huge. And if you were to look at the sales, the amount that sold in the US was astronomical. Dropped so much. It's just the promotion didn't work or whatever. But worldwide, AHA is still big. And worldwide, people still love AHA. In the US, we look at it and go, well, take on me.
Yep.
And oh, take
I
on
know,
me.
I know we've gotten called out by some of our more international,
I know.
more international viewers and listeners on that note, so to speak. But I think that falls prey to the one hit wonder. And I know it's a subjective in this case because in the US, that was the hit. So internationally in UK side, I'm sure that there's a lot more that goes to it. But in the US stateside, they could not replicate that. Even with MTV pushing and helping, they could not reclaim that glory they got with Take On Me.
Yeah, exactly. And just when we're talking about UK or how in Europe something takes off and then kind of falls flat within the US, I just want to throw out Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Welcome
Yep.
to the Dome. That took off and they sold 2.2 million copies, 2.2 million based upon that. Then they come up with their follow-up that sold, what was it? 500,000 copies.
Wow.
The follow-up, they got really experimental. They got hard rock. Okay, we're going to change this up because they wanted to try to get a new audience instead of, this dance thing. And no one cared. Nobody cared, and they just crashed and burned after that.
I've got one more in the one hit wonder territory, and this is a Michigan-ish band, The Knack, and their debut album, Get the Knack. Doug Feiger and company kicking off with My Sharona, Your Number, Your Name, Otara. This is a good album. Good Girls Don't. There's a few good, solid hits on this. And then a couple of years later, they follow up with But the Little Girls Understand, problematic title and cover on the side.
Yeah.
I looked for some figures. It just said millions, and this one just said not millions. So critically acclaimed on this. There's one or two cool songs on the second one, but not the power pop, if you will, of the original Get the Knack. And then there is a third Knack album out there. Nobody ever talks about. I've got 3 because it's part of the Michigan go around, but not in the same stratosphere as that first one that Feiger and company put out with My Sharona and all those. But this is a good, I love going to this album from time to time.
That first one did 5 million copies.
Oh, yep.
The second one, 600,000 copies.
Really? Okay, so you did find those numbers. That really dropped.
Mm-hmm.
The third one probably didn't even register. It's there's a notation saying that Jim owns it. I'm sure Jeffrey Feiger's got a copy in his law office somewhere. He's going to file suit at us now. So.
My last one I have to show here is the Stone Roses, and this was considered next to the second coming of Christ as one of the greatest things ever. Okay.
It's a good record though.
But it is. It took me over 30 years to get into it. I mean, really, when I bought it, I go, oh, okay. I just couldn't get into it. And now finally, a couple years ago, I go, damn, that's really good. I just take a while. But this sold 1.2 million. 1.2 million, and was just phenomenal, and everyone still praises it as an incredibly good album. It then took them 5 years to come up with their second album. By the time then, the music had totally changed. What was big when this came out was no more when their second album came out, which can happen. You take that long, the world just changed on you. We know music is fickle and it don't last. And so their second album sold 600,000 copies. Again, probably nothing. I don't know in the US, I couldn't tell you what it would look like. I have no idea. And the U.S. market is big. I mean, it
Yep.
does. I mean, UK buy a hell of a lot of records. They are record nuts there, which is fantastic. But yeah, went from 1.2 down to 600,000. Just took too long, and the music left them.
They bypassed it. All right, I've
Yep.
got one more also, and this is going to be a touchy one, I think, because not only is the ordering of what is their sophomore release versus what is their first release, but also their fan base gets a little rabid. I think it's fading.
All
but their fan
right.
base is rabid. Let's go back to Michigan, shall we? And Greta Van Fleet, the hometown boys, Frankenmuth, Michigan, not too far from the store here. And this is their debut EP. Came out in 2017, called Black Smoke Rising. It's an EP, 4 songs on this: Highway Tune, Safari Song, Flower Power, and Black Smoke Rising. Each one of these bona fide, certified hits that rocketed these kids upwards with this.
Yeah.
But here's the rub. This is an EP. It's
Yep.
not technically their first album. Their first album, very technically, is called Anthem of the Peaceful Army, or Anthem of the Peakful Army if you've got the misprint on the back. I've got a copy of it. Now, I looked for some sales stuff on this. This did well. It did well critically. It did well on the sales wise, but just anecdotally from my perspective as a record store guy, being here when we started in 17 into this one, we sold a lot of these, but this was the go-to. So here's where it gets even worse now, Steve. This was the debut 2017 EP. First album, Anthem of the Peaceful Army, 2018. Then in 2019, there was a couple of CDs in there as well. There was a release called From the Fires. I've got an autographed copy of this, by the way, which is kind of cool, from
That is.
our good friends over, if you can kind of see that there. But this was released in 2019. But what this is, it's the first 4 songs from Black Smoke Rising on one side. So this is considered a double EP and not an album. That mixes in a couple of other songs, or 4 other songs rather, from that era as well. So this is their third release, but second extended EP. This thing was a monster because it had those first 4 songs and other stuff from that era. This folks went berserk over this. This was a record store day release. We had a bunch of autographed ones coming in as well. But, you know, when I was trying to do some research, and then their second one would have been, or their second official album, I forget the name of it. I've got it over there somewhere. But so where do you fall on this? Is this considered to be their sophomore release, even though it's their first album, and it didn't do as well as just the monster of Highway Tune, or of Black Smoke Rising and From the Fires?
Well, for me, I would say that EP was the start. I mean, they got crucified by some critics. It sounds like Led Zeppelin. They're ripping off Led Zeppelin.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's awesome. It was. And I was so excited about that album. And I just thought, this is fantastic. And then that next one comes out and go, where's Zeppelin? You know?
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
And they've never quite they're on their third full album now. Starcatcher was their third one. And that one I still have a couple copies. It just, again, anecdotally, here in our store, a mid-Michigan store, it did not sell well as these two did. And now Anthem of the Peaceful Army, personally speaking, it's good. It's kind of forgettable compared to the early stuff. Yeah.
Totally agree. Absolutely.
So, I guess we'll count that as a sophomore slump, but I'm a little confused as far as the direction to go with these.
Yeah.
Because it technically is 1, 2. I'm all mixed up now here. 2, 3, but this is the first album. Oh well, I'm trying to get. I'm reading too much into it. Let's go with that early release being their first.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm good with it.
And I asked around, looking around on this, and they say they're working on another album. We'll see what happens with that.
I haven't, the last few, I didn't even bother. It's just, it's like, I'm not digging it whatsoever.
Nope. That Zeppelin sound was very cool, and I know they took a lot of knocks for that.
Mhm.
The second, well, their second album, Peaceful Army, went a little bit more prog. The third one went very prog, and I'm going to have to look. Now it's going to bug me if I don't get the name of that album out, Steve. And Battle at Garden's Gate was the one that I was trying to get into there. So that one had a very good prog sound. It reminded me of Rush in a couple of spots, I as well.
Okay.
And I know a lot of folks talked about that. So I think that did equally as well as Anthem of the Peaceful Army, but still better than their last one, Starcatcher.
Yeah.
Here nor there.
Starcatcher, Glam, or whatever. I don't know.
Yep, they're trying for that. We'll see what happens next with them. Okay,
Yep.
well, that is a nifty little encapsulation. We didn't even really get into why there could be a sophomore slump, but maybe we did. We talked a little bit about so much pressure to recreate and or follow up on something that was tremendously commercially successsul, culturally successful. It's a lot of pressure, especially with Meatloaf. There's a lot of pressure.
Only 43 million, man.
That's insane.
Michael Jackson had that, though. You just think about after Thriller, the pressure that he was under to try to do whatever.
Well, there's some other issues there.
Yeah.
Too. So are there any that we missed? Maybe you folks have some favorites that you think fall into the sophomore slump category. Luckily, I think, Steve, that this is not always the case. I mean, a lot of groups don't fall into this. Maybe they don't start as strong, so there's not as much pressure to carry forward, and they build that momentum over time. So I'm happy that Wet Leg didn't fall into that, but I'm a little taken back by it's taking us a little longer to get into that. But we talked about that already.
Yep, exactly.
All right, well, again, folks, let us know if there's something that we missed, something that you think needs to be kicked in there as well, and we'll talk about that in the comment section. So, all right, next week, Steve, this is going to be interesting. I may be on a vacation, but we'll see what happens. We'll still be able to put something out, I think.
We always find a way.
We'll do that. All right, well, until next time, my name is Jim, and I own a record store.
I am Steve, and I own a record collection, but not an iron.
There you go. Have a great week, Steve. Thanks a lot.
See you, Jim. Bye, everyone.